My name is Beatrice Adu. Once again, thank you for joining us. Almost half of food crops produced in Ghana does not make it to the final consumer. That's according to a 2014 study. Joy News' Justice Baidu has been to the Bono-Ahafo regional town of Amankwa-Krom, a farming community, to find out why and what that means for farming communities.
This is the road that leads to Amankwa-Krom. It's a small farming town of about 500 people in the Techima North district of the Bono-Ahafo region. This 5-kilometer stretch is one of many things standing between farmers here and the market. 70-year-old Joyce Farr is one of those farmers. Her 5-acre cassava farm was ready for harvest months ago. She's unable to harvest because no car can come here to convey them.
The road is deplorable. Look at me. I'm old and weak. We can't do anything about the road. It's government's responsibility. During the dry season, cars use the road. But when it rains, no car can come here. We can't harvest. And when you do, you lose everything.
Huge amounts of food like this heap of cassava here continues to go waste in many parts of Ghana. And yet, this is a country where nearly 1.6 million people are at risk of hunger and malnutrition. And in many cases, like it is here in Amankwa-Krom, it's usually because there's no way to move this from the farm gates to the market where they are most needed. And this is one of the places where cassava from villages like Amankwa-Krom are needed. A Gari processing factory just miles away, employing close to 200 women. But work here is slowing to a halt because they just can't get cassava supply.
We can't get cassava due to bad weather. And when it rains and we get good harvest, the cars can't convey them here because of the roads. This factory employs many people, but it is almost empty now. We can do more with a good supply.
The tragedy of post-harvest losses in Ghana is not just with the food that is wasted, but also with the economic opportunities on the agricultural value chain that this country would never realize. Justice Baidu, Joy News, Amankwa-Krom in the Bono-Ahafo region.
Now, the Inspector General of Police, John Kudalo, has assured Ghanaians domiciled in other West African countries the police have no plans to bar them from returning to exercise their franchise on December 7. Executives of the opposition New Patriotic Party in the Volta region have expressed concern about the influx of Togolese into Ghana on election day to vote and is threatening to stop all such aliens. At a media briefing after meeting with the Volta Region Election Task Force in Ho, however, John Kudalo said his outfit would ensure Ghanaians duly registered but resident outside the country would be allowed in to exercise their franchise, and that it would be unlawful for security officials manning the country's borders to attempt to prevent them from entering the country on election day.
The IGP indicated that any individual with a requisite document would be granted access into Ghana to go about his or her businesses with no restraint on the election day. COP John Kudalo, however, employed the citizenry to be vigilant at the various polling stations and report any suspected imposter who attempts to vote while his or her name is not on the voters' register.
I don't think the police have any mandate to come and vote here. But you know the long-standing historic history between the Volta region and Togo for that matter. And all that we are saying is that any Ghanaian is free to stay anywhere and work. So if you are living outside the African continent and you are duly registered and your papers are ready, you can fly in, nobody can stop you at the airport for not coming. In the same way, if to eke out a living genuinely and lawfully, you find yourself in a country without our borders or without, when I say without, that is the distance, I don't think anybody can stop you. And the security agencies will ensure that everybody who's supposed to vote or who's supposed to have easy access to and from the country across the border should be allowed to vote.
COP John Kudalo also stated that it would be a hasty decision for the police administration to ban political parties from organizing health walks, adding his outfit would act on banning such walks at the appropriate time to avoid public backlash. He added that banning political health walks would be unfair to smaller political parties, since all three clashes witnessed so far were between supporters of the two dominant parties, the new Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress. Minister of the Interior, Prosper Bani, entreated politicians not to engage in hate speech on their campaign trails as campaign activities heat up. He, however, warned that any individual or group that aimed to plunge the country into chaos during the elections would be apprehended and prosecuted.
That the 7th December day is not a holiday. It's not a statutory holiday. And as in other cases, we expect that our institutions will provide the environment for all citizens, those working and not working, to be able to engage in their democratic activity by going out to vote, be able to travel from one part of the country to the other without any hindrances, except those security forces that have been mandated to police the polls. They will be given some restrictions, and they all have been briefed already.
Prosper Bani was on a day's working visit to the Volta region together with commanders of prison, fire and immigration services, the Inspector General of Police and the National Coordinator of the National Disaster Management Organization. The team visited a whole central prison where they interacted with the inmates on challenges at the male and female cells. Prosper Bani assured the inmates that government would soon commence construction of a rehabilitation center at the prison yard to help equip them with employable skills. Fred Kwame Asarish report for Joy News.
The Electoral Commission continues to receive little attention from local media in the Ashanti region, despite its key role as election management body. A monitoring report by the National Media Commission reveals discussions are over-concentrated on the two leading political parties at the expense of the EC. Executive Secretary of the NMC, George Sapon, says the trend, which reflected in earlier studies, puts the electorate at a disadvantage of electoral education. He spoke at the launch of the report in Kumasi. Kwasi Debra has more.
The study, conducted between August and this month, put the spotlight on 44 radio and 8 TV stations. An earlier exercise between April and August produced similar outcome. Mr. Sapon says the media must facilitate public education, especially on electoral reforms following the 2012 election petition. Mr. Sapon fears Ghana risk disenfranchising her citizenry if the electorate is ill-informed. He says public education, especially on electoral reforms following the 2012 election petition, remains very low.
Because the Electoral Commission is the elections management body. The rules about the elections, the mechanics of the elections, everything is in their hands. Immediately, one of the key things the Supreme Court did was to recommend a number of reforms after the elections petition. The Commission set up a panel of experts that also made recommendations. How far has the Electoral Commission gone with the reforms? How does the reform affect this election? Does it affect me as a voter? Is there something that I have to do in relation to that? Without a clear kind of access given to the Electoral Commission to articulate these issues, very few of us are likely to understand the issues. That is why the limited coverage given to the Electoral Commission is of great essence to us. Ultimately, how well the elections go depends as much on how much space we give to the political parties as how much space we give to the Electoral Commission to talk about the rules and the processes and the procedures and systems governing the elections.
Mr. Sapon also criticizes the media's focus on politics than core issues like education and employment. Limited coverage of gender and issues about ethnic groups other than the indigenous Asante also caught attention of the monitors. Mr. Sapon described the Ashanti region as becoming culturally insular. Some media personnel at the launch shared their thoughts about the report with Joy News.
CDD realized that the people wanted the politicians to talk more about education, infrastructure, electricity, utility. So this is what we have to let the politicians.
Even with the political parties, they have been biased because the smaller parties have not received the number of percentage or the same number of percentage the media gave to the major political parties, that is the NDC and the MPP.
I think as journalists, we all have a charge to keep and make sure that we promote the education that was lacking in the presentation that he made. So we go on.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
Visually impaired voters will be able to vote for their preferred candidate in next month's elections without potential interference by aid. It follows the introduction of tactile jackets to facilitate the voting process for visually impaired. Ohiminteria report from the Ashanti region.
Voters with visual impairment say they have over the years been unable to choose for themselves the people they want to vote for. There are reports of some aids thumbprinting for candidates other than the ones directed by the owner of the vote. The secrecy of the ballot is also compromised and breach of the law. Thanks, however, to the Electoral Commission and the UK aid, 250 visually impaired persons in the Ashanti region are being trained on how to use the tactile jacket ballot. They, in turn, will train others on the devices. Some visually impaired persons who attended the training described as an improvement in the country's election management.
We were introduced to the tactile voting jacket. This jacket means there are some dots on your left side and there are some holes. So if you trace on your left side and the person you want to vote for, he is in the number 2 or 3 position, your left thumb will guide you and you thumbprint it against it directly so that you will not miss the person whom you want to vote for. So it is giving us a direct voting without spoiling even the ballot paper.
Whenever I was going to vote, I had to go with a guide to vote for me or to help me vote. And mostly the guide was voting, because I had the fear that I could vote, the vote could go to 2 people, which will make my voting a spoiled one. People may appear to be very kind, be in the same party with you. However, they may vote for you and may vote for their own.
This is News Today on Johnny's, your election headquarters. Stay with us. We'll be back with more. You're still watching News Today on Joy News. Now, members of the opposition New Patriotic Party have visited the grave of the late Abuakwa North Member of Parliament, JB Dunkwa at Achim Kukwentumi, for support ahead of the December 7 polls. Thousands of MPP sympathizers and faithfuls in the Abuakwa North constituency, led by the current Member of Parliament for Abuakwa North constituency, Gifty Chum Ampofo, and the Catholic Bishop at Kukwentumi, visited the grave site to pray for the late MP's soul and also to ask for his support.
The MPP commenced the visit with a health walk in the constituency and climaxed it with a rally at Tafolore Park. At the graveyard, the Eastern Regional First Vice Chairman of the MPP, Alhaji Umar Bodinga, cried on late JB's grave to deal with his killers and also protect his elder brother, Nanado Dankwa Ekufuado, as well as his successor, Gifty Chum Ampofo.
We will seek justice for you in court to ensure your death is avenged. We don't understand how the state is handling your case. Kofi, if there's power in the spirit of the dead, we implore you to pursue your killers and avenge your death. The widows are wondering who will cater for them after your demise. Kofi, support your sister and Nanado in this contest to bring the victory the NPP needs.
Member of Parliament for the Ebuakwa North constituency, Gifty Chum Ampofo, disclosed at a rally that the Akufo-Addo government, if God permits he win, will be women-centered in all spheres. She said there will be opportunity for women both in business, formal and informal sector, as well as the security. She called on all women and everyone who love women development to support Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
Our manifesto makes provision for women engaged in petty trading. We hope to secure 30% out of the 51% population of women in Ghana into decision-making places. So my colleague women and men, support every woman in your life to ensure that they are fairly represented in the affairs of this country.
The Eastern Regional Organizer of the MPP, Kwame Appiah-Kodua, likened President John Mahama to an impotent man. He said the NDC and President Mahama have destroyed all social intervention programs that was initiated by the MPP.
Hear me out. If you take Mansa home and you're unable to touch her as a man throughout the night, then it is not in your place to ask her for a hug in the morning. Also, do not put square pegs in a round hole.
President John Mahama on Tuesday cut short for the construction of a farmers' center at Ghani in the Upper West region. There's more in the following report.
The president paid courtesy calls on the chiefs of Naga, Navrungo and Sandema traditional areas on day 3 of his tour of the Upper East region. He later addressed a gathering in front of the palace of the chief of Sandema in the Bulsa North constituency.
When we took over the reins of administration of this country, only 58% of our people had access to clean drinking water. Today, as I speak to you, 76% of our people have access to clean drinking water. Those are the achievements that we have chalked. We have extended electricity to so many communities. In one of the districts when I went, they said that when I came into office, only the district capital, one community was connected. In these last 4 years I've been president, in that district, we have connected 57 communities in addition to the district capital. This is the kind of work that we have done. The Constitution says that every 4 years we must stand for election. I was elected in 2012, and I'm standing for re-election in 2016. But that has been the tradition.
The president commissioned the Kanjaga Community Day Senior High School in Bulsa's South constituency. He also cut sod for the construction of new farmers' center at Ghani near Tono in the Navrungo Central constituency. He said the farmers' center will help train farmers in modern agricultural practices to help increase productivity.
I'm particularly enthused about the aspect of training and retraining our farmers in modern agricultural practice so that they can increase productivity. It is no longer about how extensive your farm is, but how intensive your farm is. Because somebody can grow 10 acres and harvest more than somebody who is growing 50 acres, depending on the agricultural practices that you use. And so I believe that this is the solution to the green revolution in Ghana. This is going to kickstart the green revolution in Ghana. And I believe that in the next few years, when these centers are set up, Ghana will produce so much food that we'll be able to be self-sufficient in food production in terms of food security. But then not only that, we will become net exporters of food out of Ghana to other countries in the sub-region.
Let's stay a while longer on the governing National Democratic Congress, and the Deputy Director of Communications, Fred Agbenyo, has rubbished accusations by the opposition NPP, suggesting it is siphoning funds from a UK-based company to sponsor its campaigns. According to Mr. Agbenyo, the NPP should provide solid evidence instead of attempting to throw dust in the eyes of the Ghanaian electorate with their allegations.
First of all, I don't even know the locals of Sir John, who did the press conference yesterday for me to be responding to him. Because not too long ago, this is the same person who was running around this country saying that Nanado and his Achim mafias have removed Dede Ashantis from the NPP. He left and went to Canada and came back, and he wants to be heard. So how did he put the press conference together? There's one thing about armed robbers. Anytime an armed robber is sleeping in a room and he hears even a mouse around his window, he thinks that a colleague armed robber has come to steal from him. You see, clearly this is a sign of desperation. We are going into elections. They know they have lost the election. And so they think that they can fly on lies and fabrications, creating their own stories and expect the people of this country to believe it. How on earth can you organize a press conference, invite noble media houses to come and cover a press conference without providing evidence to any of the accusations that he leveled against government? Somebody should tell us that government has entered into agreement A, and that A, B, C is wrong with that agreement. Then we can discuss that issue. Sir John is always making the allegation. He is the one who comes to the evidence that yes, government has entered into agreement, because government on any day enters in several agreements anyway. Government enters into agreement, government enters into contracts with individuals, with countries, and what have you. Ghana has not come to a standstill. We are still going about our development activities. And so every blessed day, every moment, government is into agreement. So the fact that government has entered into an agreement does not necessarily mean anything. Somebody should tell us that government has entered into agreement A, and that A, B, C is wrong with that agreement. Then we can discuss that issue.
This is News Today. Now, health officers from African countries are in Ghana to assess the success of certified polio-free countries and find solutions to the recent surge of cases in Nigeria, the only African country to record polio in decades. The officers will, at the end of the 4-day review session, come up with reactionary solutions to the disease. Hanodame has more.
Polio is a highly contagious disease caused by a virus that attacks the nervous system. Children under 5 years are more prone to contracting the virus than any other group. Currently, only 3 countries in the world record polio cases. These include Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Nigeria. Ghana has been certified polio-free since 2008. This Dr. Bedu Sarkodie attributes to regular sustained immunization.
Our last case of confirmed white polio in the country, Ghana, is 2008. And since then, we have been doing best to make sure that you look adequately by enhancing our surveillance for acute flaccid paralysis. And we have cases of AFP, but then all have been tested and they continue to be negative. And this is very encouraging.
Is there an instance where we might likely record a polio incident, even though you have all these strategies in place? Is there a likelihood?
The likelihood is low, but it's not zero.
Nigeria was off the hook until a civil unrest in one of their states causing new records of polio. Dr. Bedu fears the effect of a destabilized country on the health effect of its citizens and warned Ghanaians to conduct themselves towards a peaceful election.
Any means of insecurity, people get displaced, people lose their normal place of living, and as much as possible, it comes with a lot of challenges, including health challenges. And we pray to Ghanaians that this election, you have to make sure that you conduct it safely, and then you go forward on life, and this election should not put us back.
Chairperson of the conference, Rose Ghana Fomban Leke, urged Ghana to maintain a high alert health surveillance program to prevent a relapse of the disease.
Ghana has been doing very well so far with its basically you make sure there is high routine immunization to enhance population immunity, which is very good in Ghana, and make sure that the surveillance is also of high quality.
For Joy News, my name is Hannah Odame.